Sanitation District for, what is today, Wednesday, January 27, 2016. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll and establish a quorum?
Yes, good morning. Members Ashby, Bruins, Carr, Guerra,
Here.
Hansen, Harris,
Here.
Hume, Kennedy,
Here.
Christoph,
Here.
McGlashan,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Morin,
Here.
Nottoli, Peters, Skoglin, Villegas, and Mr. Serna.
Here.
And you have a quorum. This meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation and Sacramento Area Sewer Districts is being broadcast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will replay Sunday, January 31st at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. In accordance with Government Code 54952.3, compensation for meetings of these legislative bodies is required to be verbally disclosed. The amount of $100 will be paid for each board member participating today as a member of Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, and the amount of $100 will be paid for each board member participating today as a member of Sacramento Area Sewer District. Compensation for Sacramento County supervisors and City of Sacramento council members is paid to the county and city respectively to partially offset the cost of those governments. Compensation for other board members is delivered to the individuals. If you are wishing to address the board, please fill out a speaker identification form. It's located at the back table and hand it to the clerk.
Okay, very good, thank you. Director Morin, will you do us the honor of leading us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get started, just want to remind directors and staff, if it's not already obvious, we're experiencing some technical challenges this morning with our monitors. We're hopeful that we have a satisfactory workaround on some of this, but I would just ask for your patience. And we'll probably do some old school voting, I suspect, this morning. So with that, first item.
Mr. Chair, we have not received any speaker cards from the public.
Okay, very good.
Item number 2, you are acting as the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District. Approve the filing of the second addendum to the Certified Environmental Impact Report for the Eco Water Project.
Is not working this morning. Or is it working?
Yeah.
At least I don't see a green light here saying that it is working. I'll just set it up, take a minute to set also both items 2 and 3. You'll be taking actions on those separately. Item 2 is related to the EAR addendum that we brought to your board at the last board meeting. The Eco Water project requires greenhouse gas mitigation, and the district chose to implement a solar project. And initially, it looked at a number of alternatives and settled on a couple of different alternatives. And once we had those alternatives out on the street for proposals, we got a slight variation of one of the alternatives. So now we have 3 alternatives. So this addendum essentially covers all 3. So the first step you'll be taking is to approve the filing of the addendum so that you can go on to the next action, which is the selection of a preferred vendor, provider for the solar power purchase agreement. So in terms of why we need to do the solar project, the Eco Water project is going to essentially double the power consumption at the treatment plant. The treatment plant already is, I believe, the second largest power consumer, or maybe third largest power consumer in the SMUDS area, and I have no doubt that Regional San will become the largest power user once we implement the Eco Water project. And it is also staff's goal and this board's goal to get us closer to the energy neutrality, and this is one that takes a small but important step in that direction. And we've looked at other alternatives in terms of the wind, and it was not feasible. We're continuing to look at natural gas, fuel cell type alternatives, but this is one that I think will get us in the right direction. So with that, Steve will quickly go over the presentations. He'll do item number 2, and then we'll have an opportunity for hearing and any voicing of any concerns, and then we'll go to item 3.
Very good.
Morning, Chair, members of the board. I'm Steve Nabozic, and I work in the Policy and Planning Department, and I'm here this morning to present items 1 and 2 on the agenda. Item 2 is the second addendum to the Echo Water Project, EIR, for a solar project at the treatment plant. And after receiving the presentation for item 2, we're going to be requesting that you receive comments from the public and approve the addendum to the EIR. Just by way of some background, last August, your board received an update on solar projects that can fulfill greenhouse gas mitigation requirements that are identified in the Echo Water EIR. And in August, you also selected the preferred alternative, which was a fixed tilt solar project on up to 17 acres in the bufferlands on a site that's reserved for future solids disposal. And at the same time, you requested that we carry forward a secondary alternative that includes solar and parking area with a reduced footprint in the bufferlands. We were asked to begin the CEQA process at that time that covered both alternatives, and then at your last meeting, you received a brief update on the second addendum by Prabhakar. In November 2015, we issued a request for proposals for the solar project. 8 proposals were received. Most of those proposals included a single-axis tracker option for the preferred alternative. And where we originally were looking at fixed tilt, where the panels just stay in one orientation, basically the tracker systems are fixed on the north-south axis, and they rotate east and west. They track the sun as the Earth is moving throughout the day. Because they're tracking the sun, they produce more energy per panel than a fixed tilt array does, and therefore they require a lot less panels, and the cost is reduced. Just to put it into perspective, the preferred alternative we're bringing to you for the next item, a fixed tilt system has over 14,500 solar panels. That includes the racking for all of those panels and the labor to install all of that. The single-axis tracker in the bufferlands has only a little over 12,000 panels. So that's 3,000 less panels, the racking systems, and the labor that are associated with it, which really helps bring down costs.
Before you move on,
yes.
Did staff take a look at the maintenance costs or the amount of personnel time and energy that would have to be spent to
Yeah, for the arrangement that we're looking at, all the build, it's through a power purchase agreement. So the building, the operation, the maintenance, the ownership is all on the provider. So that's what they have to take into account in order to make the system operate and achieve the goals.
Thanks.
One thing about trackers is they do require more space. It's kind of counterintuitive, but the panel strings that rotate, you need to spread those out a little bit so they're not shading each other throughout the day. So while you're using less panels, the actual footprint of a tracker system is larger than a fixed tilt. So after looking at the proposals, we decided to revisit the addendum, which was originally for a fixed tilt system. It originally covered a fixed tilt system on 17 acres, and we included an expanded footprint of up to 21 acres to allow your board to consider a tracker option for what we'll be discussing in item 3. We looked back at the CEQA addendum, and the alternatives evaluated are consistent with the environmental analysis and the mitigation that was outlined in the Echo Water Project EIR, and the proposed solar project will not result in any new or significant environmental impacts beyond those that are described in the Echo Water EIR. So the alternatives that are now covered in the second addendum include what was originally discussed in August. That's alternative 1, fixed tilt with a footprint of up to 17 acres. Alternative 2, mix of carport canopy and fixed tilt with a footprint up to 12 acres in the bufferlands. And as recently updated, the addendum now covers alternative 1A, which is a single axis tracker with a footprint of up to 21 acres. So this is an area of the aerial of the treatment plant in the surrounding area. We have 3,200 approximately total acres, about 1,000 acres of process area, and over 2,100 acres in our bufferlands. And the 12, 17, and 21 acre conceptual solar footprints are shown by the shaded area on the bottom of the slide. And then this next slide just zooms in. It zooms in on the area, shows again the conceptual footprint for each of the options we've discussed in the future DLD. That 12-acre footprint would be coupled with carport canopies. That is the more expensive option. That 17-acre footprint is what we would need potentially for a fixed tilt system, and the larger 21-acre footprint is what would be required if we were going to implement a single-axis tracker. So I just wanted to note, as Prabhakar indicated last week, that public outreach was conducted with the environmental stakeholders and the surrounding residents and local businesses. And so far, the only comments received were from local stakeholders, and they focus on keeping solar in developed areas instead of the bufferlands. There's two major constraints with that. First is space. We simply don't have enough parking or rooftop area to fulfill the echo water greenhouse gas mitigation on, yes?
I think we have a question from Director Nottoli.
Okay.
We can wait till he concluded, but I just, go ahead and wait till he concludes the presentation, Mr. Chair. Yeah.
And the second constraint is it's just not cost effective. But by identifying an area of the bufferlands that is slated for future process use, we feel that we've struck a good balance with all things considered. And with that, we're recommending that you receive comments from the public and approve the second addendum to the Echo Water EIR.
Director Nottoli?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Steve, for your presentation. My question is not so much about the footprint, but in the environmental document attachment C that we received, it talks on page 2.7, it's an excerpt from the document, but it talks about site access and security. And I guess I'm trying to get a sense of the fencing. It says on the last sentence of page 2.7, as necessary for public safety and site security, a 6 to 8 foot high agricultural field, I don't know if it's supposed to say fence, would be installed around the perimeter. Again, I don't know that I've seen an 8 foot high field fence unless you're not talking about cyclone or chain link. You're talking about
the idea that we're trying to work in there is preferably a 6 foot fence, and the agricultural fencing that we're requesting is we're hoping to have something with a minimal towards the bottom of 4 to 6 inch opening. The idea was not to preclude some
passage of critters.
That is right. So that is what we're going to be working with the selected provider to work into the project.
Okay. Again, when I saw 8 foot and then not knowing exactly what that meant there, and you don't have a typical, I guess, to show what that would look like. Again, you got pretty good security on the grounds anyway. I mean, and so it seemed to me that, and again, I'm glad to hear it's not a chain link or cyclone fence versus something. Could you at some future juncture at least get us just shoot us an exhibit of what you're looking at? Because I think from the standpoint of passage of obviously of animals, but certainly something that would blend better. And I was also thinking that with the Miklos Ranch immediately to the south there, that something that's kind of gives more of an industrial look that would be kind of imposing might not be the best match compatibly as relative to the aesthetic. And I know it's a little distance away, but
we'll do that.
Okay, that'd be good. Thanks, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Director Bruins?
Thank you.
You're on.
I'm on, okay. A couple questions. One is on your presentation under the Solar City top rank proposal slide, their number for fixed tilt is 14.2 acres, and you're saying it's 17. So I'm just wondering what the difference is there.
When we did our feasibility study, we were looking at proposed footprints that we wanted to allow some leeway. There's a lot of the solar providers that came in under 17 acres. Some are a little, for the fixed tilt option, some are a little bit closer to 17 acres. I think we have one that's in the range of 16 acres. So for the feasibility report and the request for proposals, we're allowing up to a certain footprint to accommodate that fixed tilt technology. For the purposes of the environmental document, what we have is an environmental document that allows for up to a 21 acre footprint of a solar array, be it fixed tilt or single axis tracker, and that is with us required to fully mitigate for within that footprint of up to 21 acres for all the Swainson hawk foraging and those types of items.
Okay, thank you. And my other question is, did I hear you say that this site was chosen because it's already slated for some future development?
That is correct. We originally, back at the beginning of, end of 2014, beginning of 2015, we did have a different area targeted, but as we did our outreach efforts, there was, we tried to accommodate to the extent that we could the comments we were receiving from stakeholders. So the project was moved from a different area to something that's slated for future process. It's our solids disposal, but not needed within the life of the 25-year PPA that we're anticipating.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is that we just not eat away at our buffer land unnecessarily. So it's good to know that this is an area that would have been developed anyway. Thank you.
Any further questions of staff? Madam Clerk, do we have anyone sign up to speak on this matter?
We do not.
Okay. Entertain a motion then?
I'll move approval of the second addendum to the Echo Water Project EIR.
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Director Morin, seconded by Director Nottoli. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you.
For item number 3, approve the preferred alternative for a solar project at the Sacramento Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant and selection of Solar City as the best value solar provider.
Okay. As just stated, for this item, we're requesting you approve the preferred alternative, approve the selection of Solar City as the best value solar provider, and then direct staff to enter into negotiations with Solar City to implement the project. As touched on previously, we received 8 proposals. We scored them mostly on cost. As you can see, it was 65%, but we also included other factors, experience, conceptual design, performance guarantee, schedule, were also considerations that went into our selection. This is a summary of the top 4 ranked proposals, and I understand it's hard to see on your screen. It is included as attachment C of the board package if you want to look at a little bit larger copy. I don't plan on getting
Not
into...
much larger.
Not much larger. I don't really plan on getting into a detailed discussion about the handout. I did want to point out that besides the economics, it also provides some of the details on the total fenced area of each of the alternatives, as well as the actual area covered by solar modules for each of the alternatives. So we can go into that further after the presentation if you have questions. But based on the proposals received, Solar City was ranked highest for all 3 of the alternatives that we have for your consideration, and they are our recommendation as the best value solar provider for the project. And option 1A, the single axis tracker, is the preferred, is our recommendation for the preferred alternative, and it has a nominal savings of more than $10 million over the 25-year project life. So this is just currently kind of a initial design of what the recommended preferred option would look like within the future footprint of DLD7. And with that, we recommend you approve the preferred alternative, which is the tracker system. And Solar City is the best value solar provider, and we also request you direct us to begin negotiations with Solar City to implement the project. And with that, I can take any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Mr. Guerra?
Yeah, I'll just move approval of the preferred alternative and the selection of Solar City and direct staff to enter into a PPA agreement.
Second?
It's been moved by Director Guerra and seconded by Director Bruins. I see someone's
I actually requested, I don't need to speak. I was just going to add.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed to speak on it?
No, we don't.
Okay, there's a motion, a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just, as Steve leaves, so the savings, can we plow that back into the to our projects that we have given the green
That's what
light
my
to?
comment was going to be.
Oh,
I was going to say that, if we had gone and bought the credits, we would have spent $1 million or so. Instead, net savings are going to be close to $11 million. So the $10 million that we're going to save through this project, we're going to create an endowment for the bufferlands activities, both for the natural resources that are there, for the upkeep and for the enjoyment, perhaps for our ratepayers. So this is certainly money where we don't have to spend out of our pocket to do that. So that we'll bring that once the agreement is finalized, and we'll bring as part of the budgeting activities for setting up the reserve.
So that wasn't in the staff report.
It's not in the staff report, but we will, as part of the budgeting process.
But that's very good news. We had good news on the project, but that would have been additive. So I'm glad you put it out on the record. I didn't know when I asked the question that you were going to give us that answer, but that's great.
Yeah, at some point when we were planning, and I made this comments last year too, but we'll continue to work through that.
Okay, good. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Next item, please.
Item number 4 is the establishment of a new residential user category for age-restricted housing developments.
Christoph, go ahead.
Okay, this is Christoph Dobson. I'm not sure if it's on.
Nope.
Right there.
Go ahead and log in there.
Please try it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're on.
Mic's on. There we go. Christoph Dobson, Director of Policy and Planning for Regional SAN. For the past several years, we've been working on, basically working on improving our sustainability of our rate and fee structure. And we've been doing a number of activities, and that's primarily associated with building the capital for our Echo Water project. This particular project is kind of a piece of that. It's one of the last things that we're pulling together. And it's essentially looking at our classes, the residential class, and seeing if there are some categories that come out of that class that might have different cost of service. And when we looked at the age-restricted communities, it's a very specific subset of residential, we found that the cost for that particular group was about 0.6 or 60% of the cost of a equivalent residential unit. So because of the results of that study, what we're proposing is to establish a new class or new category for age-restricted and to set it at 0.6 ESDs. So this is just the initial stage to introduce the topic. Over the next few months, we'd be going out and doing outreach, developing ordinance changes to reflect that. And we'll be coming back probably in the April timeframe to introduce an ordinance. It would also, one piece to note is that it would not be retroactive, so we wouldn't be going back in time. It would just be on a go-forward basis. The idea would be to have it effective July 1st of this year. And that's all the comments we have.
Hey, quick question. Has staff already looked at some level of detail the household size associated with? That's what I assume is driving this. And I know that this is a receive and file, and you're looking for general direction today to refine what you would bring back for us to adopt formally. But what further analysis would have to be completed between now and then to justify the 0.6?
Well, the analysis is done. So we have the data that shows that the 0.6 is a good approximation of that particular category. So it's more of the logistics of
Just the change in the ordinance?
change the ordinance, define, it has to be very specific on how we define the age-restricted, basically what kind of documentation you have to show that it's has some kind of legally binding documents that keeps that development or area age-restricted.
And this is 55 and up and
It's
older?
55 plus, yes.
Okay, Director Christoph?
One question I have, is that for all categories as far as single-family, multifamily, project, or?
Yes, what we found is that in the age-restricted, that whether it was multifamily or single-family didn't matter. It was, the numbers are very similar.
Thank you.
Director Bruins?
With me.
Oh, Director Nottoli, who's
I guess we're both logged.
plugged in as Bruins.
Jeannie needs to vote twice. Question I have is that, have we had any discussion with the water purveyors? Because if the outflow is less, I got to assume that the inflow is less. And again, we've got multiple water purveyors, but it seems to me that if nothing else, this information ought to be shared. And I know water districts are having to cope with their own set of challenges as it relates to both cost coverage and reduced usage due to conservation and so forth. But if in fact our analysis and study is showing 6/10 of what would be the output in other developments if they were not age restricted, it seems to me that then that logic could very well apply. Now, whether people choose to apply it or not, I guess, is going to be up to individual districts, including the water agency for the County of Sacramento. But I guess I'm curious because I think it presents a particular issue to water purveyors that if, in fact, and again, if it's just on a standard rate, but if they have categories that it would seem to me that this will prompt folks. Again, if I lived in one of those communities and got a reduced rate, but got charged the same for the water, but it's being documented now by the folks that take the outflow that there is less usage that and with meters maybe that's all taken into account. So I guess I'm curious, Prabhakar, has there been any conversation? You're part of RWA and or at least attend those meetings, so I'm kind of curious.
Why don't you go ahead?
We haven't done additional outreach to the water purveyors, and you touched on it at the end there.
Yeah.
If you're metered, it's going to reflect that in the bill anyway. Now, not everyone has the meters yet, but that's certainly...
Well, and over time, everybody will be metered pretty
right.
much, so, okay, so that may take care of itself.
I mean, there's certainly the water agencies, especially they're under a lot different pressures than the sanitation districts, us being a flat rate provider compared to the water agencies. Whether there's usually a base charge and there's a commodity charge in the water side. There's always a base charge that's flat for everybody. Whether there should be some discount in the base charge for the age-restricted community, that's something I think the water purveyors need to. But we'll share this information.
I think at least sharing information.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, thanks.
Director Villegas?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I know you're just looking for some guidance and direction, but it would seem to me that in addition to identifying categories such as age restriction, because we already have low-income categories as well, that we would probably emphasize more or place more emphasis on recycled water. I mean, I think along the lines of what you were indicating, because it seems to me ultimately that's where the ratepayers are going to bear the majority of the cost. And so rather than identifying categories based on what it seems that this one might be that we ought to emphasize, and I'm okay with that. It seems that that's the prudent place to begin, but I think where we ought to end is as long as the development includes all of the components that we've stressed to the rest of the ratepayers, which is recycled water, energy efficiency, making sure that we're not, making the water more polluted by adding stuff to it that costs us more to take it out. I mean, I think those are the things that ought to be driving our willingness to buy down their costs, not necessarily categories that might end up proliferating our policy, because tomorrow we may end up with 4 or 5 other categories that frankly ought to have the same benefit. But unless it's based upon the things that are costing the rest of the ratepayers more money, it would seem to me that it's maybe honestly misguided, but not focused on what the ultimate costs are. It seems like that would be where we ought to be driving our policy more so.
Okay, any further comments by directors? Do you have enough general direction without a formal vote?
We do.
Okay.
I think all we were looking for is direct staff to continue on with this.
I'm certainly not hearing any opposition to it. So. All right, very good. Next item, please.
Item number 5 is the presentation on the recently completed scientific study of the physiological assessment of the bad Sassoon phenomenon, light and nutrient interactions.
So this is a chance for those of you that really like the biology in your high school to really enjoy. But those of you, I don't think she's going to bore you.
No frog dissection.
No, that won't be necessary, but there will be algae discussion.
If I could have the PDF file up, please. Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members of the board and the audience. My name is Lisa Thompson. I'm the Chief Scientist at Regional SAN. I'm in the Scientific Research section, which is part of Policy and Planning. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today about one of the science projects to which Regional SAN has contributed funding. Oh, and I'd also like to acknowledge our scientist, Dr. Tim Musson, who is the project manager for this project. So it's colloquially known as the Bad Sassoon Study, or officially known as this physiological assessment of the bad Sassoon phenomenon, looking at light and nutrient interactions. This work was conducted by researchers at UC Santa Cruz and also Applied Marine Science as a consulting firm. The reason it's called the Bad Sassoon Study is that previous work had indicated that phytoplankton growth and health was for some reason decreased in Sassoon Bay, so well downstream of the Sacramento Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant, and people weren't sure why. There was some concern that it might be related to ammonia, and so that had people looking back at the plant, so that's why we were interested in getting involved. And they took a twofold approach to this. They were looking at field measurements of phytoplankton health and growth, and they also did controlled laboratory studies where you obviously have much better control over what nutrient levels are, what light levels, and other factors. So I like that twofold approach when we can get that. I want to give you a little bit of background for the biologists on the food web in the Delta. This is obviously greatly simplified, but just to show you where phytoplankton or algae fit in. They're near the base of the food web. They're taking up nutrients such as ammonia, nitrate, or phosphorus. And in turn, they're being fed on by other organisms further up the food web and supporting that going further up. Now, it's interesting with the ammonia, that can be taken up as a nutrient by phytoplankton, but there's evidence that in some cases, high levels of ammonia may actually inhibit the growth of phytoplankton. And so there's a lot of discussion about what level of ammonia might be a problem. But you can see from the food web diagram that if there is a problem with phytoplankton, that could impact the little zooplankton. They're about 1 millimeter or so long. You can just see them with the naked eye. And then they get fed on by native fish in the system, such as the Delta smelt. And Delta smelt numbers have declined probably for a number of reasons, but if people are concerned about their food source, they're going to be looking back down the food web to phytoplankton and nutrients. So the objectives of the study, for the field study, they wanted to go out and track what was happening across different seasons, trying to look at what was happening with stress of the phytoplankton and then relating that to a number of different possible environmental factors. The main thing they were doing to measure the phytoplankton stress is something called FVFM, or photosynthetic yield. It's basically a really fancy way of saying the phytoplankton happiness index, which is actually what the researchers said to us. Think of it that way. It's an idea of how much scope that the phytoplankton has for growth, and that depends on its health. And they can take a really quick measurement in the field and get a pretty good index of how the phytoplankton are feeling out there. And it's based on fluorescence. If you flash the phytoplankton with a light, the pigments in the phytoplankton will emit light back. And we can go into much more of that if you're interested. For the laboratory study, this was again this controlled setting. They had isolated individual species of phytoplankton grown in their own little culture, and then they treated them with a range of nutrient types and concentrations and light levels, so they could look at all those factors in different combinations. So this is the study area for the field project. This is going along the length of the Sacramento River, from Sacramento up at the top, down through Sassoon Bay, and then Martinez down at the bottom. And the yellow spots are showing you the sites where they actually stopped and did measurements along the length of the river. They did that measurement of phytoplankton health or phytoplankton stress, and then they looked at chlorophyll A. That's the pigment that's in the chlorophyll that helps it photosynthesize, and that's an indicator of how much phytoplankton you have, or the biomass. And then they looked at the other factors you can see there, light, turbidity, pH, and so forth, so that they had the full suite of things that we might possibly be affecting phytoplankton out in the river. And so these are the results. I'll walk you through this. But basically, we're looking along the length of the river. And you'll recall in the map, we had Martinez and then Sacramento up at the top. So this is actually, as you go from left to right, you're going from downstream to upstream, because that's the direction they did their transects. The graph at the top is showing you the nutrient concentrations along the length of the river. And the lower graph is showing you the phytoplankton biomass, how much was out there. And they went out 4 times, so you've got different shaded dots there for the different times that they went out.
Dr. Thompson?
Pardon?
Yes. Up for a second. We have a question here by the director.
Sure. Yeah, hi, thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. On the top table there, do the color of the dots have any significance, or is that just highlighting those two, Rio Vista and the treatment
It's
plant?
indicating the location so that they could call them out, yeah. So the yellow dots are the site that they had that was just upstream of the treatment plant and then just downstream. And then Rio Vista is indicated by the red dots and the different times that they went out to those sites.
Thank you.
Great question. So basically that transect, then, if you look at the ammonia, the top graph, if you look at the ammonia in the water starting at the I-80 bridge, just in Sacramento, and you work your way downstream, the ammonia levels are quite low. You can see when you get to the treatment plant, we do release a lot of ammonia, and the ammonia levels go up, and then they gradually are declining. And what's happening there is some of the ammonia is getting converted to nitrate, some of it's getting taken up by algae for growth, and so you see this gradual decline in ammonia until you get down around the area of Rio Vista, and by then it's pretty much leveled off. If you look at the lower graph, what's interesting here is that the chlorophyll abundance is quite high when you're up at the I-80 bridge, and then it's gradually cascading down. So from the direction you're looking, it's going down. It actually comes up a little bit downstream of the treatment plant in some of the months. Now, if the ammonia were having a big effect on the phytoplankton biomass in the river, you would have expected that the drop in the chlorophyll or the phytoplankton biomass would happen at or downstream of the treatment plant. And what we've seen in this study and in other studies is that the decline in the phytoplankton is happening, it's starting well upstream of the plant, miles upstream, far beyond where the effluent from the treatment plant would even go back and forth with the tide.
We're planning on letting the Regional Water Quality Control Board know this, right?
Yeah, they know, right. Actually, they watch, because they're about a mile upstream where they take water in at Freewa, and they don't take water in when the tide's going upstream, in case anyone's worrying about that.
Yeah, Dr. Thompson, because you mentioned, I was curious about tidal action, the X2, the salinity. On your list, you didn't put pumping operations, but I guess that goes in the flow. But I guess I'm curious because, again, there's multiple factors here, and you know, the plant gets blamed for any number of things, even with good science, and then there's a lot of deflection, at least in my view, of you know, some of the real reasons why we see declines in, you know, in native species, even at the level of some of the things that you're studying. But I guess I'm curious. So, does the tidal flow, does the salinity have any impact? Because if you're seeing it upstream, you get tidal flows that still push well up the Sacramento River. I mean, they may be modest, but nonetheless are there. I would say that hasn't been sorted out yet, but it's going to get addressed in future studies. Certainly when you get to where the river is becoming more salty, you're going to get changes in species, as the freshwater species may not prefer living in salt water. So that's certainly an issue with some of the species. For the area we're looking at here, and the area where you're really seeing the decline in the chlorophyll, it's happening upstream of that X2 where things are starting to get salty. So really the take-home story here is happening before you even get to that. Okay. There may be some tidal influence. It's probably more than I can get into now, but we're looking at things like settling of the phytoplankton when the tide is slack and how that may interact with clam grazing. But that's future work. I'll touch a little bit on that. Okay, thanks.
Sure. Yeah, great question. I'll run over time if I try to answer. So to sum up the phytoplankton stress measurements, and we didn't show you the graphs for this because they're really complicated and messy, but basically the phytoplankton were often stressed in Sassoon Bay. They were stressed at other places along the Sacramento River, but there weren't clear patterns. It varied by the time that they went out. There didn't seem to be a clear pattern to it, and it certainly wasn't correlated with the ammonia concentration. So that was about all that they could pull out of those data for a first run. Want to move on to the laboratory study. So while they were out doing the field work on the boats, they collected phytoplankton samples, and they were able to go in under a microscope, take an individual phytoplankton, and put it into its own container and grow it up till they had a whole beaker of a particular species. And they were able to get 6 species that they could do that with. The nice thing about having these monocultures is that you can study that species and how it's responding to the factors you're testing with no competition from other phytoplankton species and no grazing of the zooplankton, because that can confuse what your total numbers of phytoplankton turn out to be. So this is a really nice control. And they tried at different concentrations of nutrients. They tried both ammonia and nitrate as a source of nitrogen for growth, and they looked at different light levels. So that's why you see this matrix of the different comparisons here. Just kind of a quick summary of that. So this graph is really detailed. I want to walk you through the main things we see. The fact that it's messy really reflects the situation and how much uncertainty there still is about the effect of ammonia. There are 6 panels that you can see there. Each of the panels is one of the different phytoplankton species. The red bars show growth rates of the phytoplankton on ammonia. The blue bars show growth rates on nitrate. So the first thing to see is they all grew on nitrate and they all grew on ammonia. As you go across from left to right in each of the panels, you're getting increasing concentrations of the nutrient, either the ammonia or the nitrate. If you look at the 2 panels on the far right, you'll see that those red bars get smaller as you move to the right. So for those 2 species, they did show less growth on ammonia when the concentration was very high. Some of the species actually preferred ammonia, though. If you look at the top left, that species grew better on ammonia across the board. So it's one of these it depends answers that policymakers get driven crazy by, I think, because the scientists keep coming back and go, great, we need to know more research. But I think the take home for us at this point, if you look at those arrows on that top left panel, is the arrow on the far right is the concentration of the ammonia in the effluent. So we're never actually seeing that in the river. The most we'd ever see is the diluted effluent, which is the middle arrow. And all the species are still growing on ammonia at that concentration. And what's really more common out of the environment is the concentration you'd see in Sassoon Bay, which is shown by the arrow on the far left, which is pretty low. I mean, all the species are still growing on ammonia at that concentration. So the conclusion from all this then is that something else must be doing the suppression of the growth rate when we're seeing those higher stress levels, lower health of the phytoplankton. And as we said, we saw the different responses of different species. It's really important to be clear about what you're talking about. You can't just talk globally about all species. And so further research is going to be needed to look into this, and we're actually embarking on some research. I hope to present that as a potential contract to you in a couple of months. But we're going to go further upstream and try to get a better handle on where and why that decline in phytoplankton is happening along the length of the river. Wanted to mention a couple of the other studies that we're working on right now. The one I just mentioned, looking further upstream, that's also going to include more container experiments with some different combinations of nutrients and other treatments. We're actually going to try and include clam grazing in there to see how that may be affecting things. Tim Mussel started a survey of clams up in this section of the river. Nobody had done that, and it turns out that the non-native clams are present in our section of the river and may be affecting the phytoplankton. We've been contributing funding to a number of other efforts. One thing I wanted to mention here is if you add up all of the funds that have been spent by Regional SAN, our in-kind costs of our collaborators for the projects that I've touched on today, it's probably about $1 million to $1.5 million, which is a lot by from research standpoint or thinking as an academic. If you compare that with the cost of something like EcoWater, it's pretty much dwarfed. It's 1,000th of that. And so it's not like I'm making this big plug for research, but I think it behooves us, where we can, if we have big, expensive infrastructure questions, getting as much research as we can in up front can really help us to make the best decisions possible. Also, I wanted to say that we are really interested in trying to connect research to policy, not meaning for you to read this whole list, but these are the nutrient-related work groups, conferences, meetings, projects that regional SAN staff are involved in. So we really are making every effort we can to collaborate within policy and planning and with our staff at the treatment plant, and particularly the lab staff there, and really trying to get the research information out and influencing policy. So that's all I have. Oh, sir.
Director Christoph?
Just quickly on going upstream. How far upstream are you going to go? I mean, West Sacramento has an intake.
Yeah.
Woodland and Davis are in the middle of constructing one now. So how far up are...
We're thinking of going up as far as Knight's Landing, because that allows us to look at the influence of a number of tributaries along the way. So one of the things we're interested in is if you've got water held in reservoirs or other places upstream, there's going to be phytoplankton in those reservoirs, and then they're coming out of the reservoir and down the river. And there's some question about whether a phytoplankton species that likes living in a lake, which is relatively calm, whether it's going to like living in a river. So some of the decline may just be that you're having shifts in phytoplankton species. Maybe this has always happened, we don't know. But we think that it will be helpful to at least get a broader picture of the watershed that we're in, and see where different algal species may be starting from, what nutrients are coming in. And I'm certainly not going on a witch hunt for ag about nutrients. I used to work a lot with ranchers in my previous job, but I think it helps us to understand the whole picture. It's, as I've said to some people, it's going to be the people of Sacramento County who foot the bill for fixing problems in the river. And I think it behooves us as scientists to come up with the most cost-effective way to make the river the healthiest that we can.
Very good. Very insightful presentation.
That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Director Nottoli?
Yeah, I want to thank Dr. Thompson, and I guess I would just, to kind of put an exclamation point to your last comment, I think this is money, time, and effort well spent, because we are most often put in a defensive posture when it comes not only to this agency's operations, but just generally because the water is coveted by particularly those downstream. It's important to all of us, certainly here in this region, and I think we're always driven to the point because one, cleaning up the river, we all have a responsibility to do our part, and we'll do more than our part just by, I think, by the sheer size of this organization and and the population that we serve. But I do think that the investments made here, again, certainly within reason of our budget abilities and so forth, and the partnering with the entities that are here, or at least inputting. I mean, some of these folks may be not partners as much as they are, contrarians when it comes to, I think, some of the things that we have to do as part of the utility, but also I think our goals as a region. And so I think the science is really important. I think this has been really useful today. I mean, this presentation, and I do think that the research that we can certainly fund and do that complements other work that's being done and really sets the record straight. And again, science evolves, and certainly wasn't my top subject in school, but I mean, you've made it very understandable here today. And I just, again, it's very important because again, that water and all life that depends upon it, including us, is critical to the quality of life here. And again, I just think what we do to counter or at least put out good science and to Chair Serna's question about the water board having this, I think people have a tendency to pick and choose oftentimes what science they want to pay attention to and commission certain activities to bolster their points of view. I think that we have integrity in what we do here, and that certainly your work and that of your colleagues on behalf of this district is important and relevant, and I would certainly continue to support it. And I think there should be no embarrassment if you need to come before this board working with obviously obviously with Prabhakar and others in asking for research dollars that I think supplement and support what we're trying to do to be a good steward of water, but certainly of our regional assets, and water is at the top of the list. So thanks.
Thank you. And if I could just add, I think the collaboration that you mentioned is really key. I didn't mention, I should have when I was showing you the other studies, that they're all collaborative. It's universities, it's agencies. Some of the stuff I think was co-funded with groups that you might not think that we would be collaborating with, but that way everybody shares the data and shares input, and I think that really moves the conversation forward. And it's cost effective too. It affects how it's viewed and affects how everybody interacts, and that can only be a good thing if we're collaborating more.
I just wanted to add, Chair, if I may. Some might say, well, we're spending $2 billion. Why do we need to do more research? There's a lot more things that are coming our way. As long as we have a pipe that's discharging into the river, there's always things that are going to be looked to us. And the better science that we have, the better position we'll be in to actually do prudent improvements. And the position that we've always taken is that if it is our issue, we stand ready to fix it. We have to do that. But where we have issues is when we're unfairly blamed for things in lack of science, and where if we don't play in that arena, somebody else will. And this is a way that we actually be there and also develop partnerships, like Lisa was saying, that with people that we may not actually see eye to eye, all in the interest of protecting the Delta. So there's a lot more work ahead of us, but this is a very important piece.
Well said. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Next item.
Item number 6, you're acting as the Regional Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District. It's the miscellaneous director and district engineer matters.
I just have one request of the SASD board members. Both Regional San and SASD are doing the strategic plan. Regional San is a little bit further along, and SASD just kick-started its effort. As part of the strategic plan, we have asked for a member or two to see where the district should go. In Regional San's case, Director Nottoli provided that guidance, and we had our folks interview with Director Nottoli and provide that guidance. We're asking for a volunteer or two from SASD board members to provide the same guidance. Essentially, it'll probably an hour to 2 hours worth of commitment, more like an hour worth of commitment. So you can volunteer now, or we'll send an email later, and then you can do it at your leisure. So either way is your preference.
If you don't get us now, Prabhakar, I don't know how. But your chances are offline.
So maybe I'll pause for a moment.
Any takers? Director Kennedy.
Anybody else would like to? Director Kennedy doesn't necessarily.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, any comments from board members? All right.
For your final item, you're acting as Sacramento Area Sewer District. It's to accept the mainline lining for Root Mitigation Project 2, contract number 4267.
Move the item.
Second.
It's been moved by Director McGlash and seconded by Director Hume. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Thank you. That concludes our calendar this morning.
That concludes your calendar this morning.
All right, very good. If there's no further business before this board, we are adjourned.